It all started on the new job. My route home from the late shift took me down a long, isolated stretch of highway, a place where the streetlights were few and far between. I'd usually get home around 1 a.m., tired and just wanting to sleep. It was on the third week that I first saw it, a dark sedan, a few car lengths behind me. I didn't think much of it, just another late-night commuter. But then, it was there the next night. And the night after that. Always the same car, always the same distance back. It became this unsettling part of my routine, the only other car on the empty road. I started getting paranoid. I'd glance in my rearview mirror every few seconds, expecting to see those twin headlights. So, I started taking different routes, going 10 miles out of my way on winding side roads. But no matter where I went, the sedan would eventually appear. It was never close enough to read the license plate, and the windows were too tinted to see the driver. But I could feel its presence. It felt less like a person and more like a predator. One night, I decided to test it. I pulled over on a small access road and just sat there, engine running. After a few seconds, the sedan pulled over too, about 50 yards behind me. It just sat there, its headlights a cold, unblinking stare. The stillness of the moment was terrifying. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. I panicked and sped away, shaking the whole drive home. The night it followed me into my neighborhood was the worst. It passed my street, drove slowly to the end of the cul-de-sac, turned around, and parked directly across the street from my house. The headlights turned off and the engine went silent. I tried to call 911, but the line was dead. Nothing but static. I just sat in my car, frozen, watching the empty, dark car. After about 10 minutes, the driver's side door opened. A figure got out, a tall, slender man, and just stood there on the pavement, staring at my house. He didn't move. He didn't walk towards my house. He just stared. And for a split second, I saw his eyes. They were completely black. I sped out of there, driving to a police station. They sent a patrol car to my house, but they found nothing. The sedan was gone. The next day, they ran the license plate from my shaky photo, and it came back to a man who had been dead for 6 months. His car had been impounded the day after he passed away. I moved out of that house and changed my route, but sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night and swear I see a tall, dark silhouette standing in my front yard, just staring at my bedroom window. My 2 best friends and I decided to buy a trail camera. We'd go out to this secluded state park every weekend and set it up, hoping to catch some cool footage of bears or coyotes. At first, it worked just as we hoped. We got a bunch of great shots, a deer grazing, a family of raccoons, even a rare bobcat. But after about a month, things changed. We started seeing something else in the photos. At first, it was just a shadow at the edge of the frame, something we thought was just a branch or a trick of the light. Then, it was a figure in the background, half hidden behind a thick tree, looking right at the camera. It looked like a man, but the way it stood was all wrong, hunched over, with long, spindly arms. We started to get nervous. We thought maybe some local weirdo found our camera and was messing with us. We decided we needed to go check it out, get the camera back, and put an end to the joke. It took us an hour to hike back to the spot. When we finally got there, the camera was gone. The small tree we had strapped it to was bare. But there was something strange. Just below where the camera had been, a single, perfectly clear photo was pinned to the bark with a sharp twig. The picture was a close-up, taken at an odd angle, and it was a selfie. But it wasn't one of us. It was a picture of the figure from the other photos, its skeletal face pulled into a wide, impossibly stretched grin. The cracked, yellowed teeth and dark, empty eye sockets were burned into our memory. The most terrifying part wasn't the face, though. It was the date stamp on the photo. It was dated for the next day, a full 24 hours in the future. We ran out of the woods and never went back. We still have the picture, which we keep locked away. To this day, we get a new picture emailed to us once a year from an anonymous source. It's always a different location, a different time. But it's always the same horrifying face, looking straight at the camera with that sickening grin. Last year, the photo showed the grinning face standing behind a family at a picnic table. The family in the photo looked familiar, so we ran a reverse image search on the photo and found it was a photo of the family who owned the house down the street from my house. When I was in college, I rented a cheap apartment in an old, 4-story building. The landlord, a stooped old man with a perpetually damp-looking suit, was strange, but the rent was so low I couldn't pass it up. He showed me around my small, 1-bedroom unit with a flashlight, even though it was the middle of the afternoon. When we walked past a door in the main hallway, he stopped dead in his tracks. The door was covered in layers of peeling paint, and a heavy-duty padlock hung from it, almost as if it was meant to keep something in, not out. He told me it was the entrance to the basement, and that under no circumstances was I ever to go near it. He just used it for storage and didn't want me snooping around. I agreed without a second thought. A few months into my lease, I started hearing things. It was always at night after the building had settled into its deep, heavy silence. The scratching noises started first, faint and sporadic. I'd hear them coming from the other side of the basement door, a rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape that I tried to convince myself was just the old pipes or a rat. Then came the humming. It wasn't a song I recognized, just a low, off-key sound that felt wrong, like a broken music box playing in a dark room. It would start around midnight and continue for hours. One night, unable to sleep, I put my ear to the door. The humming stopped instantly, and a faint, dry whisper came from the other side. My blood ran cold as I heard a voice, as clear as day, call my name. I called the landlord immediately, but he just laughed and told me the building had been around for a century and made all sorts of noises. Get used to it, he chuckled. The next morning, the humming and scratching were replaced by a furious, frantic pounding. It sounded like someone was trying to break the door down with their bare hands. I ran to the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. The heavy-duty padlock was still there, but the door was ajar, about an inch from its frame. The lock itself was completely shattered, a mangled piece of metal hanging from the door. As I looked closer, I saw a thin, pale hand disappear from the crack. It was holding a small, silver object. I packed a bag and left within the hour. I found another apartment, but I never told anyone about the basement. A few years later, I was browsing the internet and came across a news story about my old building. It was being demolished, and the article mentioned an unsolved missing person case from decades ago. A man who was last seen entering the building was believed to be trapped in a hidden room in the basement. The man's name in the article was mine.